it's my pleasure to welcome as our first guest Ron Carr, sales and leadership expert, who is author of The Velocity Mindset, how leaders eliminate resistance, gain buy-in, achieve better results faster. He's also past president of the National Speakers Association, which really puts great pressure on me that I have to be fluent and speak every word distinctly so everybody can understand me. Welcome to the show, Ron.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you. So please tell me about your book. I'm going to order it when we get off, unless we have a long commercial, then I'll go to Amazon and order it then. Tell me about your book in your own words first.
So the Velocity Mindset is a passion for mine because it's my fifth book. And I was always in sales, but I gravitated to leadership because I've been coaching a lot of CEOs and C-suite. After I was done with the presidency of the National Speakers Association in June 2014, I was facing 9 surgeries. 2 of my nose from melanoma, thankfully, was superficial, so we got that fixed. But then I had 4 back surgeries over a period of 2.5 years that basically got me off the speaking circuit. And I basically had half of my back fused. You know how Tiger Woods had 1 level fused? I had 9 levels fused. So while you're sitting there thinking about your life, at that time I was approaching 60, you're asking yourself, what did I do well? And there's a lot of accomplishments. What did I not do? I thought about that, like we all do. And then I said, okay, what stopped you from getting there? And I realized a lot of it was my own personal fears and stories that I told myself. And that's what stops all of us from gaining velocity. So I hired a guy to come down, and I was doing a keynote at one point, and I was looking at my branding, and he filmed my keynote at the University of Texas, and he said, wait a minute. He called me up today. He said, I got your brand. I go, what? He goes, Velocity Mindset. And that hit me between the eyes. And I said, how did you get that? He goes, that's all you talk about. Wow. So what was coming up for me was, okay, I'm 60 now. I'm going to be 70. What do you want to do? What do you really want to accomplish? Forget about what you know the past to be. That's our stories and our fears. Write down what you really want. You can create your destiny from scratch. What would it look like? Because that's what you need, the passion to get there. And then we can figure out how to get there. So what I realized is I don't want to work till I'm 70, just doing speeches all my life until I get back enough money to make up for what I lost in the back surgeries. I want to start living the life I want now. That means I'm going to move to Florida and play golf all year round, not be in the New York winter, and still do my job. So COVID hits all of a sudden. That puts all of us in the back. So now with COVID, okay, that interrupted my plan. Now what do you want to do? I still want the same plan. But what COVID taught us is life is short, so you better not wait if you want to do something. So I decided to work on the book, get it out, because this is a passionate movement for me. And by the time the book came out in production, which it just did, we'll be coming out of COVID and people will be ready for the message. So I got that done. And then along my plan, I signed a lease for a place in Fort Lauderdale at the end of September. But then my intuition started talking to me, Barry. It was saying, hey, you've had this leaky heart valve for the last 30 years, well, since you were born. And, it's been getting tighter and tighter. Maybe you should have it looked at again before you go to Florida. And I'm going, nah. I said, you just wrote about intuition. Your intuition's telling you better walk the talk. So I called my cardiac guy. He did an echo. Sure enough, he pulled the fire alarm. He goes, dude, you can't wait. We thought we have 10 years. You're so severe right now that you have 2 years left, and you can literally die of sudden death in 6 months. So all of a sudden, it's like your world goes upside down, right? Everything, your fears, your stories, all coming at you from all over. And I said, wait a minute, walk your talk. So what do you want from the surgery? Well, they kept saying that I created a new norm because of my limitations. I didn't even know about it. So I asked myself, what would a great new norm be without limitations? I want to be active again. I want to play golf. I want to ride my bike. I want to run 4 miles. I want to be able to be with my clients, present my family, all that stuff. That's what I visualized when I went under the knife. Wow. Today, I'm in better cardiac shape than I've ever been in the last 40 years. Wow. I do things that I couldn't have done then, but more importantly, I'm very clear as where I want to be. And so that book came out of those surgeries, but it really came out with a emotional thing. I know what I wish I did that I didn't do. I know all of us have those things sometimes, those feelings. And my mission right now is for everybody to get to where they want to be, because what I learn to realize is this: 99.5% of the drag and resistance that comes to our own velocity is not caused by external factors. It's caused by our own self-induced limitations.
Well, first of all, I knock plastic or knock cell phone that you're well and that you can actually get to everything that you planned.
Okay? I'm playing golf.
And there's one, I guess, cancer survivor born in New Jersey to another one who's had back surgery. Welcome back. And I hope there's no more problems with your back. Now, when I was a kid, and by the way, you look great for your age. I would have guessed 10 or 15 years younger. And I just have to say, I wrote for the Joan Rivers show for a few years. And I told Joan, no more facelifts. You know what you do? Okay. You just tell people you're 20 years older than you are. So I tell people I'm in my early 80s. Don't I look great too? But now, first of all, your book, Velocity. Is there a pun intended that you're a car and your book's title is Velocity, or is that coincidence? I had to ask that because I'm a comedy professor in addition to architecture. So tell me, was that intentional?
No.
Oh, well, I think it's a great title anyway. Now, there's something, when I was a kid, there was a book that called The Power of Positive Thinking by the minister at Marble Collegiate Church. You know who I'm talking about. I don't want to knock a book. How does your book differ from Norman Vincent, Don't Slip on Banana Peel? How does it, seriously, how does it differ? And what can you...
Yeah. There's an old saying that we have as speakers, why should someone want to listen to me versus somebody else, right? And so when they always come hear you speak, they always say, well, what new are you going to teach me today? So I remember Rogers, not the guy in the movies that you see the commercials from, right. Buck Rogers, but he was this one I'm talking about is the famed VP of sales in the 1950s from IBM. He brought IBM up to where it was. And he had a meeting, a motivational meeting, we're all there. And he's a former reading. The first question he says is, how many of you are expecting to hear something new? Raise your hands. And we all raise our hands. And he said, put them down. How many of you are even doing what you've learned already? So what I learned is nothing really new under the sun, but how you apply it is what's new, and how people hear it differently. So what Norman Vincent Peale talked about, positive thinking is all good, and we're all built on that. But just because you're positive doesn't mean it's going to happen. I've had a positive thinking because that's how I got out of I was the son of a Holocaust survivor.
Oh my God.
And kids of Holocaust survivors had very abusive relationships because, the parents are damaged, they loved you, but, my father was really affected. And so he didn't know how to control his emotions. So I don't have to get into that. It's in the book a little bit. But I told myself stories about that, stories that helped me back. But I realized when I did the work on myself that I could change those stories, okay? So what we're talking about is, positive thinking is really good, but if you don't start looking into yourself deeply and personally about the things that you do or how you think or how you visualize that could be holding you back, then you'll really never get to what you're thinking positively about.
I see. Yeah. For instance, I read the book Power of Positive Thinking. Okay, I'm positive, but you have to convince other people to be positive to help you. Now, in your book, I believe you deal with why you should have a board meeting with yourself. What do you tell yourself? And if I talk to myself, boy, speaking of board meetings, would I be bored? But what do you do in a board meeting with yourself?
So, a board meeting is meant to meet with your advisors and have everybody look at it from their point of view and not through your emotional state. So what I'm saying is go to lunch by yourself and get out of the emotional state and look at the situation for what it is. So my first sales job when I got out of college was selling copiers. I worked with Walt Business Machines. They hired me when they came out with the first plain bond copier, dry toning. Before that was liquid. So it was a new invention, much cleaner. My copier could do 15 copies a minute, pristine copies, but the collate and everything else didn't come out for 6 months. Well, literally didn't come out for 2 years. So I've been making cold calls, going into companies, trying to sell a copier against the big Xerox on the third floor that could do everything. And then the first question they'd say is, well, can you meet those specs? And I go, no, we'll come back when you can. Well, after being kicked out of I don't know how many offices over 2 months, I had the board meeting with myself. I went to a diner, which we have in Jersey. And I said, if this is not really working, start with the end in sight. What do you want? I want an easier time to sell this stuff. Right? Is what you're doing now working? No. What's the biggest obstacle? They're comparing me to Xerox, and I can't handle that. Well, maybe you need to change the conversation. What are you selling? And copiers. No, what does a copier do? Go deeper. It's a communication vehicle. Maybe change the conversation to communications. So I go into the next call, and I speak to the office manager, and I say to her, would you agree with me that a copier is nothing more than a communication vehicle? She goes, absolutely.
Oh.
So when it comes to a communication process in your company, what are the 3 biggest challenges you're having right now with your current setup? And all of a sudden, it was like the dam opened up. She started going, oh my God, Sally or Pete on the first floor has got to make 1 copy. By the time they get to the staircase, they're talking to everybody, they get upstairs. Then they're behind 5 mammoth jobs. They got to wait for them to complete. Then they come down. It could take 2 hours just to get 1 copy. And I said, well, how often does this happen? She goes, try the equivalent of 2 full-time employees. And I said, well, would you like that back? She goes, how? I said, I'm not competing with the 3rd floor. I'm here to solve your problem of productivity. All you need to do is buy 1 of my copiers, put 1 on every floor for those small jobs. People don't have to travel. They get it done immediately, and you got your productivity back. I started selling 3 at a time.
Wow. So in other words, you reposition the product and by repositioning yourself, taking off your blinders and just self-examination, basically.
Right. But that was during the board meeting. Now, another concept we talk about in the book is the art of the pause. I just did a 1 hour. We had 40 CEOs on the Zoom. I just got off of it. And one guy was asking me, do you have to slow down to go fast? And I said, no, you have to stop to go fast.
Oh.
The reason I said that was the board meeting. That's the pause. The pause of the board meeting, whatever you do is when you sit yourself down, strip the emotion away that's preventing you from seeing things clearly, and just let ask you some questions like I did then. What's happening? What's not working? What would you like to work? What's the conversation? Is that the right conversation if you can't compete with Xerox? How do you change it? And then I tried it, and it worked. Now, sometimes it doesn't work, so you keep trying and trying until it comes to you. But that's the point.
With that example of copies, I think that alone should sell many copies of your book, Velocity. I really do. Now, I noticed that I'm from New Jersey. You're from New Jersey. I have to ask you this. I used to go to the Rio Diner. What diner? I've been to the Quake Diner. What diner is it?
Well, there are first of all, a lot of them either closed down or a lot of them redeveloped them into like mini restaurants, basically. But I used to go on Route 4 in Paramus, the old Empress Diner. Well, that was a fair one. Paramus was a big diner, but it was knocked down a few years ago. There's a diner in Edgewater I go to, but I like diners. They're nice, simple, and you can go think. Just like a Starbucks.
Yeah, I do too. When you don't have to translate from another language on the menu, that's great. I would rather spend my time reading your book and re-examining myself. Now, this may be a stupid question, so I apologize in advance. Now, when you do it, re-examine yourself, your goals, and the products you're selling, whether it's you or a physical product. What if everybody read your book? How would you proceed if they're smart and they know how to package themselves too? Is there a danger that if everybody reads your book, for instance, people at the unemployment insurance office may be out of work because everybody will be successful? This is not meant as a joke, but I think this is a great idea for guidance for self-fulfillment and success.
One of the underlying principles of the book was, what would the world look like if everybody acted like a leader and not as a victim?
Okay, yeah, that's what I was getting to.
So, no, we should all be dedicated to helping each other become the best versions of themselves. Because when that happens, we become automatically better. Think about the unemployment clip, okay? Here you got a woman or a man who's working hard, being inundated, doesn't know where to go, truly wants to help people. I mean, you're saying that, you know, if everybody had jobs, her position or his position would be not demanded for. I don't see it that way. I think their positions would be easier because then instead of spending most of the time forcing people to go in interviews and convincing them why, if they were able to help them get through a process of where we found their passion, went after it, they can have better communication with others and help them better, and they will be more fulfilled. Okay. Um, you know, in sales, for example, it's like everybody says, "Oh, it's a numbers game. Just have calls." No, it's not the quantity; it's the quality. So it's the quality of the interactions an unemployment person's having with people that can get better if they know how to communicate and lead.
You mentioned in your book, practice the art of the pause, which is really necessary for me because I talk too much. So I'm going to pause and let you answer the question. What is the art of the pause?
The art of the pause is the moment you have an idea, immediately you're going to be flooded with why you think you can't do it, you can't do it, or whatever. The art of pause is just to stop. Clean your head out. Ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish? The end in sight. What are the key things? Work your way back to get there. And then the answer will start coming to you, and then move forward. That's the art of the pause.
Well, speaking of moving forward instead of going back, you're fascinating, and all the obstacles that you've overcome, be it family, a lack of grandparents, I presume, because of the Holocaust, your illnesses. It's just an inspiration to interview you, and I hope you come back, and I hope that 10 or 15 years from now, I interview you, and you still look 20 years younger than you are. Anyway, good luck with the book. Thank you so much. You're a true inspiration. And let me just reiterate, tell everybody the name of the book again so they can buy it.
The book is The Velocity Mindset. They can find it on Amazon. And if they want more information about me, they can go to thevelocitymindset.com.
Oh, no wonder you have wallpaper that says it in the back. Anyway, terrific. Thank you, Ron. Good luck.
Thank you, Barry.